So, I have wanted to film this video for a while, and I thought today would be the perfect day. It's freezing cold outside. What better day to make sauerkraut? So that's what I'm gonna do. A lot of people don't know what real sauerkraut tastes like. And there is one huge mistake that people make with it that I'm gonna just share with you at the end of the video. So stay tuned. So what you could do is you could slice it up, slice it into thinner strips, and put it in a bowl, crunch it up really good with your hands, and add salt, put it in jars. But I don't do it that way. I do it a little bit differently. So I use my Omega juicer and I make a pulp out of it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run this cabbage through my juicer, and then I'll show you what I'm gonna do next. So it's overflowing. It's that point where it's just gonna start overflowing. So I just grab a bowl and and then I just toss it in there. Keep going. All right. I don't have a garbage disposal, so I try to get everything to avoid food going down my sink. So yeah, basically the juicer does it for me. It does what I would normally have to just keep chopping and mushing it with my hands with some salt and everything like that to get the juice out of it. But now I don't have to do that. It's basically the juicer does it for me, and it's just, to me, it's quicker. If you don't have a juicer, that's fine. It works either way. You can still slice it thin and throw it into the same bowl and just squeeze it really hard, and that forces the juice, the liquid, out of the cabbage. But so yeah, I just throw everything in a bowl, and this is the cabbage juice in here. So see all that cabbage juice and the cabbage. So I'm gonna just combine it. So I've got my pulp and my juice recombined. And now I'm gonna add salt. You can add any kind of salt of your choice. Himalayan pink salt, Celtic. I mean, you do you, whatever you fancy. It doesn't have to be any particular kind of salt. How much is the big question. I don't usually follow recipes. I just throw it together, and you just taste it. You know if it's salty enough. And you don't have to stir it with your hands. I just was being kind of lazy and just didn't grab a spoon. But I just stir the salt in there really good. Taste it again. It tastes good. At this point, it just tastes like cabbage. There's a little bit of salt in it. I'm just gonna add a little bit more. I'm not gonna go crazy with the salt. Doesn't need a ton. Little smidge more. Again, I have no idea how much you're supposed to add. Just add to taste. You just want the salt in there because the salt is what does the magic. The salt is the magic ingredient. And you could also, before you even start cutting up your cabbage, you could just take a couple of the outer leaves of the cabbage. Some people do that, and you just kind of fold it up on the top. Well, I'll explain it. Make sure. I mean, you really can't mess this up too much. So I have these glass jars. They're like a quart size that I have on hand. And I like to use these because they're kind of perfect for it. And I just fill up the jar. You can even add some grated carrot to this. I mean, you can go, possibilities are kind of endless. I've never tried anything like beets or anything like that, but I'm sure you could. So there's one jar. And here's the second one. So if you talk to any of your great grandparents, they would probably tell you that they did this exact thing. They used to ferment cabbage and make sauerkraut with it. And somewhere along the way, we just kind of forgot how to eat or how to make fermented foods, and it kind of got away from our diet. And I'm not sure why. Well, I do know why, but so this is extremely good for your gut. You can pretty much just throw away your probiotics. You don't really need it when you have something like this in your diet. And this is so full of good enzymes. It's just like kimchi, if you're familiar with that. Same kind of thing. It's fermented vegetables. Mostly cabbage. So I've got my glass jars. Where's my spoon? I've got these full, and I'm just gonna push it down a little bit. Well, actually, you know what? Before I do that, I'm gonna fill them up a little bit with water. Like this much. You want the water, the liquid, to be above the cabbage line. And when I make it like this with the pulp, it does get a little bit tricky because it's kind of hard to tell. It's kind of hard to smush down the pulp, but I'll just add a little bit more water. Mix it up a little bit. At this point, you can always add a little bit more salt if you want. But you definitely want all of the cabbage underneath the water. You don't want the cabbage above water. See, kind of like this one. See how it's so liquidy on top? That's absolutely fine. This one could probably transfer over here so it's more even. Because what this is going to do while it's fermenting, it's going to expand. Add a little bit more water. It's not like adding water is going to water it down. The fermentation process will ferment the liquid. So, the next step, so look at how fast this was so quick and easy to make. I like to take a coffee filter. This one's the non-bleached ones. And just take any kind of elastic rubber band, whatever you have, hair tie, who cares, and just put it on here. So the coffee filter is perfect because it allows the sauerkraut to breathe. And that's what you want, that's how it ferments. Got to get the oxygen in there. And then cover up this one. And what I do with these is I just put them on top of my fridge and allow them to do their thing. And I check on them every day because usually it'll start bubbling, and the top of my fridge is warmer. It's a warmer space, so that's why I like to do that. But as it's fermenting, the cabbage will expand. It'll actually come up. Sometimes it'll actually overflow. So I like to put them on a plate that has an edge to it so it doesn't get all over the top of my fridge. But the best part about this is the taste. It's so superior to what you buy in the store. I grew up on the sauerkraut that, came in bags or in jars. My mom always made sauerkraut with spare ribs or sauerkraut was included in our diet all the time. I had no idea that you could actually make it, and it's so much healthier. The sauerkraut you buy at the stores, unless it's raw sauerkraut, it's flavored with vinegar and there's no health benefits to it at all. And granted, it's not like I'm a sauerkraut snob. I will have store-bought sauerkraut every once in a while. I love it on like something like kielbasa sandwich or a really good, name it. Who doesn't love sauerkraut? Okay, I love sauerkraut. But with this, the biggest thing, the most important thing is you do not heat this. You don't heat sauerkraut. You can heat the stuff from the store because that's just vinegar, water, and cabbage mixed together. You do not want to heat this because you're basically killing the sauerkraut. You're killing all those wonderful enzymes that are so gut friendly. So don't heat the sauerkraut. Don't kill your sauerkraut. You're gonna let this sit on top of the fridge. You're gonna check it every single day. You're gonna push it down. If the cabbage goes above the water line, just take a fork and push it down. Push it down under that line. Add more water if you need to. It only takes about a week, and then you're gonna have amazing, fresh, raw sauerkraut. After that, you can put it in the fridge. You can leave it out a couple more days if you want to. The longer you have the sauerkraut,
the more flavorful it's gonna be, and it's gonna be wonderful. And I just use it as a condiment. I love it with meatloaf and a leftover meatloaf sandwich with a bunch of like raw sauerkraut on top of it. Holy moly, it's so delicious. But I'm a vinegar girl. I love vinegary foods. After about a week when it's fermented, just keep it in the fridge and it really never goes bad. I like to keep this on hand all the time. I usually take a tablespoon at a time and just put it on my plate whenever I'm eating dinner or breakfast. It's great with scrambled eggs. To me, it makes everything taste better. It's so good. So I hope you get a chance to make it and let me know what you think. I kind of think it's a game changer, and it takes so little time to make. I know the stuff, I've seen raw sauerkraut in the stores, like health food stores, and it's so expensive. All this was cabbage. It wasn't even organic. There was a time when I was kind of like a health nut and I would only eat organic. That's not the case anymore. I kind of just pick my battles. Just a regular cabbage probably cost me, I don't even know, probably no more than a few dollars, if that. And a little bit of time to either chop up the cabbage or pulverize it in your juicer and then combine everything like I just did. It's so simple and it's so delicious. I also forgot to mention, so a lot of people, they take the outer leaves of the cabbage when they first start, they like reserve a couple leaves. So when they put their cabbage in the jar, whatever you're using, a crock or whatever, you can fold up the leaf and place it on top, and that keeps the pulp or the sauerkraut cabbage down lower, and I guess protects it. But I started doing that when I first started making it, and I've just grown to like think it's not necessary. I can just do without it. So it's up to you. Reserve a couple of the leaves and then fold it up at the very end. You still want the coffee filter on there just to keep like fruit flies or anything out of it. Try it and see what you think. I truly hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching.